Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 12th and final round.
Right hand, Golovkin steps in and down he goes again. Unbelievable. Mayweather makes him pay. What a rookie mistake. A sensational left hook by De La Hoya.
It's fact. I'm the best. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't want to believe it myself, but it's the truth. I'm the best. I'm going to show you how great I am.
From Southern California, this is the Last Round Podcast.
Welcome to episode 112 of the Last Round Podcast. And today we have a returning guest, the Tartan Tornado, Tom Gray, all the way from across the pond. Happy New Year, Tom.
Happy New Year, sir. Josh Taylor will probably knock you out for calling me the Tartan Tornado, but okay.
I couldn't think of another good Scottish name, so I was like, Tartan Tornado.
I've been called far worse. I'll settle for the Tartan Tornado.
All right, so jumping straight into it, we have all the way back to New Year's Eve, a Thursday night fights. Kind of a strong tradition out in Japan, not something we see too often over here, but we had Kazuto Ioka, now 26-3 with a TKO 8 over, I think it's Kawashi Tanaka, 15-1 for the WBO super flyweight title. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed having some Thursday night fights. I thought the New Year's Eve tradition is something maybe we should jump on. I know the UFC have looked at it, but maybe the boxing world should do it because everyone gets the day off work, or most people do. So be a good little tradition to start.
Well, actually, being in the UK, it was an early morning fight for me, which was even more surreal. So it was like 10, maybe half 10 in the morning. It was good in a sense, but the kids were running riot, which didn't make life easy. But I seen it and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Was it a shock? A lot of people had their money on Tanaka being the up and coming guy, someone who was kind of blasting their way through the division.
Yeah, not really. Despite the fact that Tanaka was the favourite coming into the fight, you write off Ioka at your peril. And to be quite honest, without being harsh on Tanaka, it was almost like a man against a boy in there. It looked like a complete pro against an incomplete pro. I thought Ioka was on top of his game, maybe the best I've seen him. And to me, he's knocking on the door of getting into the pound for pound top 10 now. Not knocking on the door. I think he goes into the pound for pound top 10 off that performance.
Do the rest of the Ring magazine agree with you?
It's not decided yet, but the way it's heading, I think that Ioka is going to debut. To be honest, it's probably overdue. You're talking about a 4-weight world champion there. That's he's been excellent and right the way through his career. What he's achieved there and the way he went about business against our number one flyweight in Tanaka, some of the stuff he was doing was just out of this world. If he's more mainstream, if he's American, if he's accomplishing that kind of stuff, the recognition hits like American fighters and British fighters a lot quicker. It's proven to be the case that foreign fighters will have to do that bit more to break through. Well, for me, he's done it. I thought he was out of this world, and I hope he gets a super fight against one of the other top 115-pound players.
Kind of, you touched on it there. Something I was going to bring up is: do you think these weight divisions are becoming a little bit more mainstream? Thanks to, over here in California, we had Tom Loeffler did those Superfly series, with and then Dougie Fisher in the Ring magazine, push people like Chocolatito. How about in the UK? Do you think we're seeing a little bit of a rise in there?
Yeah. Maybe not as much as the guys that you mentioned, but certainly, we'll still get stars in those divisions. I mean, I believe that if you're turning in the performances against top level competition, I don't really think it matters what weight division you're in. I mean, I suggested Inoue to be a Ring magazine cover star twice. Gonzalez, I felt the timing was right. Great comeback from him in 2020. And that fight that we're discussing on Thursday was just, you're sitting, buzzing about that fight, when you're sitting watching it. If you're a hardcore fight fan, and maybe not even like if a non-boxing fan sat and watched that, just a sports fan, you would be just as entertained. I don't think the stature or the size, whether the fighter's diminutive or colossal, I don't think that matters, as long as the action is of the highest caliber.
Yeah, I would agree. Especially some of the younger not the younger, the lighter weight division, sorry. A lot more action, a lot more punches thrown, not necessarily a lot of knockouts, which I think has kind of changed a little bit. You know, Chocolatito and those guys have been knocking a few more out, but you get thousands of punches thrown, a lot more action than you would in like a heavyweight competition.
Absolutely, but also you look at Ioka, you know, was tuning up Tanaka. The left hook in particular was a massive shot. You look at Sarungvasai, he's very heavy-handed. Estrada can crack. I mean, these guys, you know, they might be, you know, 100 and 115 pounds. That might be the fighting weight. But, you know, if they tagged a big guy in the chin, he'd know all about it. These guys can punch their weight. So it's an exciting time in those divisions. And I hope all the matchups can get made. There's less to worry about politically for those fights to get made than some of the fights in the higher weight divisions, let's face it.
And obviously in that division, we're looking forward to March the 13th for the rematch of Juan Francisco Estrada against Roman Chocolatito. It's only been, 12 years in the making?
I think that's one of the best fights of the decade. The first fight, I've watched it stacks and stacks of times. Different fight this time around, probably a bit more cerebral. Both men are obviously older, in a higher weight category, but I still expect fireworks. The only thing that doesn't annoy me, I mean, I'm glad the fight's been made, but I love those guys that much. It's just a shame that one of them has to lose, unless it's a draw. Don't want to curse that, but I mean, hopefully we get a winner. But you know, I like both those guys very, very much, and I'm looking forward to a spectacular fight.
Talking about spectacular fight, something that's, I think, grabbed the attention of everybody. Saturday, the 2nd of January, American Airlines Center, Dallas, Texas, on DAZN in the UK and in the US now. Ryan Garcia, now 21-0, KO 7 of a Luke Campbell, who fell to 20-4. This is for the interim WBC lightweight title. Ryan Garcia actually down in round 2. Obviously, regular listeners to my show, I think, you know, realize that I haven't been the biggest on Ryan Garcia. I think even on that performance, in, you know, my opinion, he was still a little bit flat-footed, but that kind of plays into his style because he kind of just really goes, you know, looking for that one big shot. What do you think, Tom? What's your opinion on Ryan Garcia?
Well, I said coming into the fight, I was picking Garcia to win more on a hunch than anything else, because it was difficult to assess for all the reasons you just stated how good he was. The competition, he was going up several levels. He was highly ranked by Ring Magazine, but that was based on method of victory, excuse me, rather than who he was actually winning against. Luke Campbell, I've been following for many years. I was at his debut in Hull 7 years ago. I was at the Lomachenko fight, and I've caught everything in between. He's a class act, you know, an Olympic champion, brilliant pedigree. He's got a great coach, was taking the fight very seriously. So the way I looked at it, if Garcia could come through that fight and get a solid victory, then he kicked open the door to the big leagues, and I think that he definitely done that. Now, you touched on one thing there about being flat-footed, and just in the times that we live in now, you know, if you get floored, it's not a case of you get back up to win. It's just everyone focuses on the fact that he was floored. There is times he's got his chin in the air, no doubt about it. But some of the same people that are calling him flat-footed are referencing Tank Davis. Is Tank Davis fleet-footed in your opinion?
No, he's very similar. A lot of the guys who are, you know, heavy-handed punchers, they're flat-footed. Deontay Wilder, and the reason they're heavy-handed is because they constantly got the weight like that, so they can punch hard.
They're trying to torque their hips and get maximum leverage onto the shots. You're absolutely right. Now, there's not been head movement yet from Ryan Garcia. What we need to remember here is he's a 22-year-old kid, and yes, he had tons of amateur fights, but most of them were junior amateur fights. He's a work in progress. If you look at Canelo, say at 22 years old, he never had all the strings to his bow that he's got now that Reynoso has developed. You know, you've got to let him get to a certain level and improve, and a certain level and improve. And I think as we go from fight to fight, you're going to see that. The main things I took from it were that he get caught with a left-hand bomb, and that wasn't just some innocuous punch. Campbell set him up for that. He was putting the left hand into the body and then wind it home over the top. It was a brilliantly executed shot. Garcia didn't see it at all. And he hit the deck, get straight back up, eyes clear, legs solid, and went back to work. Now, can you imagine, right, as a 22-year-old kid, in the biggest fight of your life, that could have been enough to startle him, deer in the headlights, put him right off his game plan. He could have been finished off. And that wasn't what we've seen. It was the exact opposite. He was back in charge relatively quickly. And the finish was amazing. He took a guy out that's never been stopped, that's only been, I know he's got a loss to Mendy, early Luke Campbell, but I think Campbell was still developing at that point. The true losses were to Linares, which was razor close, and Lomachenko, who was on fire at the time and just did a number on Campbell. But he's a class act. And I thought Garcia was excellent last night. Absolutely no complaints about how he performed whatsoever.
Yeah, I have to eat some humble pie, for the people who listen to the show. As soon as Campbell dropped him, I thought, that's it, it's over, because, all the stories you hear from sparring, and, I understand sparring is sparring and you shouldn't really take that into a proper fight, but essentially what else do you have to judge it on? And, all the gym stories are, as soon as Ryan, got caught or started to lose in a sparring competition, that he would kind of find a reason to quit, like, I've got an injury, and get out the ring. And as soon as I saw that, obviously Campbell dropped him, that's it. I was like, he's going to fall apart. Like, mentally, he's just going to fall apart.
Yeah,
Campbell's going to win. But like you said, yeah, he kind of cleared, came back out. He looked strong. He went to the corner, didn't look phased by it. I thought a little bit of inexperience when he came back out that next round, he was just throwing bombs constantly. Campbell did kind of cover up, and you kind of like, just backed up onto the ropes and kind of just stayed away from it. But I thought that was kind of a little bit inexperienced that he just came out and did that instead of getting back into the fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's maybe Campbell said afterwards that even the shots that he was catching, he could feel the weight of them. And I think that Garcia's got this thing in his head at the minute where he can intimidate you just by the velocity and the impact of the blows. He's heavy-handed. I mean, he is. There's no getting around it, and with both fists. So it's not like one punch over the other. Like, he is very, very heavy-handed. And I think when he's cracking you with that, Luke's a very cerebral fighter, so he's constantly thinking. But even if he's covering up and getting like his head kind of rocked by blows that he's defending against, it's not giving him much time to think. And I think that's what Garcia was able to do. It was constantly making Campbell have to think about, all right, there's a lot of power coming at me here. What am I going to do about it? And makes Campbell almost doubt himself. I mean, even when with the knockout blow, which the most of the fight, Garcia had been leading with the left hook to the head. And the way he switched that down, if you watch it, Luke basically, goes to catch it to the head because he just doesn't want to know about getting caught with it. And it came underneath, and that was the end of the fight. So, I think the power always keeps the opponent guessing. I think he's very heavy-handed. I don't think there's anyone at lightweight that's hitting harder than that.
Looking at the lightweight division, obviously Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez. Do you think we'll see all of those kind of do like a round robin, or is boxing going to be its own worst enemy as usual, and they'll keep each other away?
I would love to see the fight with Tank Davis, but the whole thing where that's like a matchup or a promotional matchup between Golden Boy and PBC, I just don't know if I'd love to think that they don't want to sit down and get the fight done. I mean, ultimately, history shows if the fighters really, really, really want it, then it'll happen. But I'm skeptical. I hope that we definitely see it.
Do you think Ryan's going to be like more of an old school type of fighter that doesn't protect his O? I think he's going to be exciting with the pop that he has, the fast hands that he has, but those vulnerabilities. Do you think we'll see him in there with some of the big names, and he'll win some, he'll lose some, but you'll always tune in to watch?
Yeah, I don't think that he's going to have any issue with regards to who he's facing. And I think he's proven that because he took a big step up in class. I mean, you'll get people, with hindsight saying that Luke Campbell wasn't this or wasn't that. I had someone tell me today on social media that Luke Campbell is not a top lightweight contender. I mean, that's the kind of insanity that you need to deal with sometimes on social media. But I think he's proven that he's willing to take on a challenge. When you go after a savvy, talented, former Olympic champion like Luke Campbell, a southpaw, a guy that's mixed with the best, I think that it looks like to me that Garcia is going to go after the very best in the division. It's just what gets in his way politically, what stops the fights getting made, all the stuff that we see week in, week out that starts to get ridiculous. But he was actually standing there last night. If you look at Crawford and Spence in their last fights, they didn't even mention each other's names. At least Garcia last night was saying, who wants Tank, who wants this. He's very into self-promotion, very social media savvy, obviously. Sounds to me like he's desperate to have the fights, and I think he definitely means it.
As Chris Mannix kept saying last night, do you think Ryan is the savior of boxing?
Nah, it's overkill to a severe degree. I mean, I heard something as well. I don't know if it was Chris Mannix that was saying it, how he's the most important fighter of the century or something like that. I don't know if you've seen that. Things are good enough, right? We don't need to get into mass hyperbole over it. Let the kid get on with it. There'll be a world title fight, I'm sure, in 2021. I've got a feeling that the Haney fight is what we're going to see. And it'll be interesting to see how that fight goes, because Haney, despite the fact that he's not been sizzling recently, is a class act. If he turns it on, then we'll see how Garcia can cope with that.
That'll be an interesting fight if it is next. Obviously, this fight was supposedly for the WBC interim, so that mandates Ryan Garcia to face Devin Haney, if that means anything. I know they fought, I believe, 6 times in the amateurs, and depending on who you listen to, Devin Haney says he won 4, Ryan Garcia says he won 4. So, they've since they've already fought. Hopefully that makes it kind of a little easier to make.
I don't put it this way. That's 2 guys then that are fighting on DAZN. That will not be a difficult fight to make. Because Haney, like I say, hasn't looked too exciting recently. It could be coming round at a better time when Haney was coming off of something explosive. But listen, if it's 2 guys that are going to be probably, after the rankings are done, among the top 3 lightweights in the world, I want to see it. If the Tank Davis fight is proven to be too difficult to make, if Lopez has got other things, like Lopez at the minute is the top dog. He's the star. He's the guy that beat the man, right? So he'll have his own ideas. I think there's the possibility of Kambosos as a mandatory assignment for him. Make the Haney and Garcia fight. That would be a brilliant fight for 2021, sometime near the summer.
Do you think all this kind of movement and how on fire the lightweight division is, do you think that'll make Teofimo Lopez stay a little longer?
It'll depend on the size of him. He'll know if it's dragging too much out of him in the gym to make 135. It also depends on how things go with the undisputed fight between Josh and Ramirez. I think Lopez's idea is to go in and fight the winner of that fight, but there's no guarantee that the winner of that fight is going to stay at 140. They might move on to 147. So there's a lot of variables there, and things could change. I just hope some of the fights, like if we can get half of the fights that we're discussing, I'll be happy.
What do you think's next for Luke Campbell?
Let's have a look at this. I mean, I don't know if there's much left now, because he's fought Lomachenko, he's fought Linares, he's just fought Garcia. Do you hang around and try and get one of the other title holders when all these guys are talking about facing each other? I'm not too sure. He's 33 years old. I think that there's the possibility of a move to 140. I mean, I just said there, if you've got Taylor and Ramirez meeting up at 140, there's an undisputed champion. I don't think the undisputed champion will hang around. There's a possibility that a whole plethora of belts become available. Maybe Luke can get in the mix there. I mean, he's 5'9", 5'10". It could put a bit of extra muscle on his frame. He's never been what you would call a knockout artist. So, he's going to rely on the same stuff, which is going to be, great craft and speed and southpaw stance and reflexes. So, maybe a move to 140 just for something different, see what he can get out of himself. I don't think he'll retire. I think he's got a couple of big fights left in him.
I thought it was interesting just to see, the social media influence on that fight. Dan Canobio posted about 30 minutes ago on Twitter. It's trending on YouTube at 2.3 million views in just 18 hours. The highlights of Ryan Garcia and Luke Campbell.
Yeah, it's it's insane, and that side of it is good to see. Like a lot of people are saying, like I don't know them if I get their names wrong, apologies. But your Logan Pauls and whoever, right? These guys are like good for boxing. It's it's keeping casual fans interested. No, this is good for boxing when you've got an actual boxing star that can draw various different demographics. That I applaud. I wish it was the case for more fighters, and I'm loving it. And if that's the numbers that he's generating, then we can't be. I couldn't be happier. I think that's awesome.
Moving on to the co-main of that card, Roger Gutierrez, 25-3-1. He got the unanimous decision over Rene Alvarado, who dropped to 32-9. This was for the WBA super featherweight. Alvarado was actually down twice in round 3 and once in round 12. A bit of a shock. It
was. I mean, let's face it, without the knockdowns, Alvarado deserves the win. But, it's silly saying that. It's like saying a football match without the goals. The bottom line is, he got dropped 3 times. That puts you in a funk in a 12-round fight when it comes to the scoring. And well done to him. Well done to Gutierrez. Big upset coming into 2021.
Yeah, I mean, we picked it as, kind of want to be one of the fights of the night. Rene Alvarado with his high output. Gutierrez looks huge. He looked like at least a weight division above Alvarado, the way that he boils down. Just funny that, Roger Gutierrez had a few losses to some up-and-coming guys and like Hector Tanahara, and he's now a world champion.
Yeah, he just, he's basically hung in there. He knew that he had the power. He didn't have the finesse. He couldn't out-finesse Alvarado. He was being outboxed for periods, but he had the equalizer, and he was able to cash in 3 times, and that got him over the line. It's just funny to see that he lost that fight by a single point, and that was decisive in the last round. It just goes to show you, how your fate is decided. But no, he earned it, and I'm happy for him. I think we'll maybe see a rematch of that. It was close enough to where they should do it again, and I don't think either of them can infiltrate the rest of the 130-pound division. I mean, Gutierrez isn't going to get a Tank Davis fight. That's not going to happen. So it looks like I think they'll probably do that again, and it would be good to see it again. I think Alvarado deserves it.
Yeah, and it would be the trilogy. They've got one each, so it kind of makes sense to do a third. And then the other Alvarado, the brother Felix Alvarado, 36-2, TKO 10 over DJ Creel, who fell to 16-2-1. This was for the IBF light flyweight title. Great fight.
Absolutely. Overall, that card was tremendous. And I think that when you get a card like that, it's got no disappointments in it. I mean, how many times you see like a main event and it's been excellent, and because you've got nothing to complain about, you start tearing apart the undercard. Well, you can't do that this time, and that was a fantastic win for him. I was very, very impressed.
It looked like early on that Alvarado was going to make short work of Creel, and then slowly but surely he kind of just came back into the fight. And I was wondering, I was like, if this fight goes 12 rounds, I could see DJ actually kind of sneaking this. But a great fight, probably one of the greatest fight of 2021 so far. Only been 3 or 4 days into it. But one fight that I would actually like to see kind of run back, and DJ Creel with only 19 pro fights, never had an amateur experience, looked really good.
He did absolutely. I was extremely impressed. Like I said, I just couldn't go over the quality of the card overall last night, and I was just it was great to have 3 back-to-back fights, and I enjoyed it. 3 back-to-back great fights. I really, really enjoyed it.
And then the opening, Sean Garcia, the younger brother of Ryan, he moved to 6-0 with a majority decision over Rene Marquez.
I missed it. I missed that fight. Busted. I missed that fight, unfortunately.
It was an interesting fight. Some people actually had it a draw. They had it 2 rounds each. You could see Sean kind of got tired in the 4th round. But, the rumor was, coming through that Sean was actually kind of the more talented of the brothers. That's right. the word in Southern California when they were younger.
Did it look it?
No, didn't look it at all. He kind of just went in there, and I think he was, just headhunting, looking to, try and get him out of there because it was early in his career. Obviously, everybody just goes for the knockout. And I think he was trying a little bit too much, and Rene Marquez was kind of experienced and just kind of old-manned him a bit. And I think Sean kind of punched himself silly. but he's also fighting at, I think it was at 135 pounds, where Sean should really be fighting at 126. So I think get himself back in the gym.
Early days for him. So hopefully, he'll learn from it and move on. Do you think he deserved the decision?
I thought it was very close. I mean, personally, I had it 2-2, but then obviously, with him being the A side, that probably makes it 3-1.
I'll need to have a look at it. I'll watch it back.
It wasn't too bad. You could see at times that he's learning. Very similar style where he kind of just puts the gloves up very high, trying to make Marquez come into him so he could counter. Very similar to Ryan.
Right. No, I'll have a look back. I'm intrigued to see him. I just I caught it from the second the undercard fight with Alvarado's brother. I caught, but I missed that one.
Okay, so moving on to our very first ever, the last round 2020 boxing quiz.
Yeah, I'm dreading this, to be honest, but you can fire away. This better not be rigged up so I get every question wrong.
No, it's definitely not. Definitely not. So 10 questions. Do you have a pen and paper handy?
I do not. Hold on a second, but I'll. So what have I to do? Write all the questions down?
You can either write them down, because I want to do all 10, and then we'll go back through them. So obviously the listeners can kind of play along at the same time.
Okay, hit it.
Right, question 1. There's going to be 3 options. Who had the most fights in 2020? Terry Harper, Clay Collard, or Edgar Berlanga?
What kind of questions that? How am I going to know that? So what was the name? Was Terry Harper, Clay Collard,
or Edgar Berlanga? Who had the most fights in 2020?
Okay. If I answer that straight away, I'll just write that down.
Just write it down, tell me, and then we'll move on.
Okay. Hit it.
Okay, the second question. Which female boxer left boxing during the 2020 to return back to nursing when the coronavirus hit?
Oh, no. All right, okay. Yep.
Question 3. Which one of these 4 did not get elected into the International Boxing Hall of Fame for 2020? So which one did not? The names are Bernard Hopkins, Juan Manuel Marquez, Shane Mosley, or Antonio Tarver.
Okay.
You've got that
By
one?
the way, I'm just typing down the questions. I'm not typing looking for the answers. All right. Okay.
Oh, no, that's fine. You've got that one?
Yep.
Okay, the next one is Who Am I? So I'll give you the description and you've got to try and guess who the person is, obviously.
Okay.
I am a current world champion. I fought at the 2012 Olympics. I had over 100 wins as an amateur that included 2 national championships. I am a southpaw. I have several tattoos, including a lion, a cross, and Frankenstein's face. I fought once in 2020. Do you need any more?
Is that it?
That's it. I'll give you one more clue because that's kind of hard. He fights at super featherweight.
Fights at super featherweight. Right. I think I've got an answer, but the tattoos bit has thrown me. I can't think if this guy has got. No, I've totally and utterly blew that one. Right. Fire away.
Question 5. Obviously, social media being a huge thing in 2020, and especially after Ryan Garcia's last night. Who has the most Instagram followers out of these 3 people? Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, or Shakur Stevenson? Who has the most Instagram followers?
Give me the names again. So that was Lopez, Shakur Stevenson, and who else?
Devin Haney. Okay. I tried to keep it all young, kind of the similar age and group.
Well, I'm ancient, so that counts me. That counts me right out. Okay. I think I've got the answer to that. Yep. Fire away.
Okay. Question 6, and this is a big question for you. 10 years ago, so 2010, who won the Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year? The 4 options are Andre Ward, Vladimir Klitschko, Manny Pacquiao, Sergio Martinez. The 2010, who won the Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year?
Go over the names again.
Andre Ward,
No.
Vladimir Klitschko, Manny Pacquiao, and Sergio Martinez. Maravilla.
I know it wasn't, but I can. I think I'm going to be stuck there.
No pressure on that one for you, Tom. No pressure at all.
You know. Let me. Okay, right. I think I've got it. No, I've got an answer. I'm not confident it's correct. Okay.
This one's a little bit longer, so you may need to do a bit of typing for this one.
Okay.
So question 7, USA pay-per-views for 2020. I'm going to give you 5, and I want you to put them in order of highest to lowest.
Highest.
Right?
My God. Okay. Yeah.
So Wilder v. Fury 2.
Mm-hmm.
Charlo v. Derevyanchenko.
Mm-hmm.
Gervonta Davis against Leo Santa Cruz.
So, do you want this from highest to lowest?
Yeah, highest to lowest.
Okay, 2 seconds. That was Gervonta. Okay, yep.
Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr.
Oh God. Yep.
Errol Spence against Danny Garcia. And these are just figures I found on the internet. So when people start messaging me saying, "Hey, this one should be higher than that one," this is just figures I found on the internet. So
I'm getting that. Listen, I'm getting that wrong, but I'll give it a bash.
It's only fun. It's all fun. Right. So another Who Am I? Question 8. I fought once in 2020 on a matchroom card in Florida. I have previously fought Pulev and James Toney. I spent 12 years in prison for intent to deliver 1,000 kilos of cocaine. I was a sparring partner for Anthony Joshua before he fought Povetkin.
Oh, why did I not know that? Can you go? In fact, no, don't go over the clues again. I'm not going to get that. For some reason, that is right out of my head.
And I think, if I remember rightly, I think there was an article in the Ring magazine, not to put pressure on you.
Oh, thanks. You're setting up again.
You didn't write it.
Doesn't matter. I must have proofed it. You've set me up deliberate. Right, I need to think. Who were the 2 guys that he fought?
I'll go over them again. So he fought once in 2020.
Pulev and James Toney, did you say?
Yep.
Right, and okay, Pulev and James Toney. Right, I'll keep that down as a clue. But if I'm not getting that, I'm just blanking on it. I'm blanking on it. But right, carry on. Next one.
Question 9. Mike Tyson has 2 no contests on his record. Can you name who they were against, and why?
Okay.
Question 10, the last question. Most combined punches thrown in a fight in 2020. I'll give you 3 fights.
Do CompuBox, man.
Yeah, CompuBox, a CompuBox question. So the 3 fights. Juan Francisco Estrada against Carlos Cuadras. Alfredo Angulo against Vlad Hernandez. And the last choice is Roman Chocolatito against Israel Gonzalez. Just the one fight that you think had the most combined punches.
Okay. Right, that's been a disaster. But let's go and have a laugh.
That's all it's for. Right, so question 1. Who had the most fights in 2020?
I'm going to go... Was it Terry Harper?
No. Clay Collard.
Okay.
Number 2, which female boxer left boxing to go back to nursing when the coronavirus hit?
Kim Clavel.
Correct. That's right.
I've got one right. That's awesome.
Which one of these 4 did not get elected into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 2020?
Tarver.
That's correct. He was a special guest for it, but he didn't get elected.
Yeah, I like Antonio. I hope he gets inducted at some point, but I knew they'd never get in this time.
Question 4. Who am I? A current world champion at super featherweight, fought at the 2012 Olympics, over 100 wins as an amateur that included 2 national championships. Southpaw, has several tattoos, including a lion, a cross, and Frankenstein, and fought just once in 2020.
Right. Super featherweight, so that's 130 pounds. Shakur?
Jojo Diaz.
All right. You shouldn't give me the answer there. This is a pressure-packed situation. Am I even in the right weight? Am I even in the right weight division?
Yeah, Jojo Diaz.
Sorry, Jojo. Apologies, mate. I'm blanking because of the quiz conditions.
Question. What was that? Question 4. That was question 4. Question 5. Who has the most Instagram followers? Devin Haney, Teofimo Lopez, Shakur Stevenson.
I've went for Shakur.
Devin Haney.
To be honest, I'm leaving gutted that I didn't get that. Jojo Diaz is unforgivable. Okay.
Devin Haney. Question 6. This is the big one. 10 years ago, to 2010, who won the Ring Magazine Fighter of the Year? Andre Ward.
I know it wasn't Manny Pacquiao, and through a process of elimination, I went for Maravilla.
Correct.
There we go.
Saved yourself. Kind of the big question. USA pay-per-views for 2020. Put them in the order highest to lowest.
Right, I've went Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, Gervonta Santa Cruz, Wilder Fury 2, Spence Garcia, and Charlo Derevyanchenko.
According to what I found on the internet, it should be Mike Tyson, Roy Jones, Wilder Fury 2.
Sorry, lads.
Spence against Garcia, then Gervonta Davis, Leo Santa Cruz, and lastly,
I thought I did really well.
And lastly, Charlo against Derevyanchenko. Number 8.
Fair enough. No, I'm miles away. I thought that Gervonta and Santa Cruz did better than that, but they're a bit, like I say, I don't really follow pay-per-view numbers and blah blah blah.
Number 8. Who am I? I fought once in 2020 in a matchroom card in Florida. Previously fought Kubrat Pulev and James Toney. Spent 12 years in prison for intent to deliver 1,000 grams of cocaine. Was a sparring partner for AJ before he fought Povetkin.
Nah, totally blanked on it. And I'll notice it. Tell me.
Rydell Booker.
Yeah, I proofed that story. Yeah. God damn. It's the quiz conditions, right? That's the quiz conditions. I proofed that story. Brilliant. Okay, next.
I won't tell Dougie.
Hopefully he misses this episode.
Number 9. Mike Tyson has 2 no contests on his record. Against who and why?
I went for Orlin Norris because it was a punch after the bell, and there was controversy surrounding that. Replays were inconclusive apparently, and it was Mike Tyson, so they didn't want to give him a DQ or another one. And I went for Galota because he get popped for smoking weed.
Correct.
Tyson did, not Galota.
That's right. Yeah, both correct. Question 10, the last question. Most combined punches thrown in a fight in 2020.
I'm not sure of this, but I went for the Gonzalez fight.
Correct. Yeah, Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez against Israel Gonzalez.
Cool. What did I get? 3 out of 10 or something?
4 out of 10, I think it was.
Good grief.
That's not bad. Not bad. Everyone, if you can play at home, you can. If you beat Tom, you can find him on Twitter and send him a message about.
No, I don't. I get enough. I get enough abuse. The Jojo Diaz one is just is the only one that really annoyed me out of it. Just insane.
And to carry on the fun, as I told you before the show, we're going to try to predict 3 bold predictions for 2021. I'll go first. I'll give mine first. So I think in 2021 we'll see the return of either Dave Allen or Tony Bellew. Okay,
I don't think you'll see. I think you've got more chance of seeing Dave Allen than you've got of seeing Tony Bellew. But yeah, it's certainly out there. I can't see it. Tony's pretty settled.
Tony, I think he's in and around the sport. I know, obviously, he's on, Instagram quite a lot, getting himself back in shape. So I do wonder, he's just kind of immersed in it. I do wonder if he gets that itch just for one more. And obviously, it would be a humongous payday, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, he's. I just think that Tony's done everything that he set out to achieve. He got the cruiserweight title that he wanted. He got the, a brace of big wins over David Hay that pulled in a good few million, and he got the super fight with Usyk. I don't really see what more or what dragons are left to slay. I mean, to come back and fight for fighting's sake, he's a devout family man, and I just don't think he'll fancy it again. Could be wrong though. Nothing would surprise me. Nothing.
And your first one, Tom?
My first one, I think we're going to see, I don't know how out there this is, but excuse me, considering the fight that everyone wants to see is Crawford and Spence, I think it's going to end up looking further away, because I think we're going to end up seeing Crawford in against Teixeira, Patrick Teixeira, the WBO junior middleweight champion. I think that's where he's going to head in a bid to become a 4-weight world champion.
I could see that. I've seen little rumors here and there, and I think maybe he even mentioned it one time on Twitter. So I could actually see that, and it would be a makeable fight if the PBC keep pushing Crawford away. So yeah. Because it's top rank, and obviously Teixeira's with Golden Boy, and they've done quite a few matchups together over the years. Yeah. So it's a makeable fight.
Yeah, I think so, and I think Crawford's at a stage where he needs something to shoot for. And it's his own piece of history. I think he'll do it relatively the same way that Pernell Whitaker did. He's a lighter guy that's going up to, excuse me, cherry picks the wrong word and the right word at the same time. But I think he'll go up and then drop back down to welterweight, keep his options open. But I think that's enough to get him, in the gym and motivated to achieve something. So I can see that fight. Or maybe he leaves Top Rank and goes with PBC, which would certainly make life a lot easier. But I don't know if that'll happen. I think Teixeira is a good outside bet. We'll see.
For my second bold prediction, I'm going to go with, I think Canelo loses in 2021. I think he may have 3 fights. I think he'll fight Yildirim, maybe Billy Joe.
He's not losing that one.
No, he's not. I think maybe Billy Joe in the summer, and then towards the end of the year, like he tends to, I think he may fight maybe someone like a Charlo brother. And I think he may come on.
I need to stop you there, right? So who is it that's beating him?
I think Billy Joe might.
I think Saunders has got a style that causes a lot of problems. But looking at the way Canelo performed against Smith, I don't know, he just looks red hot, and he's improving with every single fight. My concern is that if he puts the foot down and really puts it on Billy Joe Saunders because he doesn't fear the punch power, can Saunders keep him away? I think maybe there was a better window of time for Billy Joe to win that fight, but I still wouldn't discount him. I know the Charlo fight against either of them, whether it's Jermell coming up from 154, although there's another thing. Canelo's not going to be fighting at 160 if we can take his word for it. So I don't know if the Charlo fight even happens. It seems to me, I was speaking to someone recently, and they're making out like the Charlo fight's been hanging around for years. I don't see that. Like, I think off his last fight, there's a reason to want to see it, but I don't think that Charlo beats Canelo Alvarez. I really don't. I mean, I'm not discounting him, but I struggle to see what he offers that Canelo has not seen before. And that's just the way I feel about it. I think that you're probably going to see Canelo stay at 168 and flirt up at 175 when the moment moves him. He's the biggest star in the sport, but I don't expect to see him at 160, and I would question whether or not Charlo moves to 168.
Your second bold prediction, Tom?
I think that this isn't the bold part. The Tyson Fury Joshua fight goes ahead, but I don't think it'll be for the undisputed title. I think one, if not more, titles will get dropped in a bid to make that fight happen. And the reason that that's maybe out there is a lot of people are so invested in it being for the undisputed title that, you know, they sound disappointed. Well, hell, you know, with the amount of fights that we need to, you know, with the amount of fights that we need to watch, tumbleweed just go right down the road. You know, I don't care. I don't care what belts are on the line. Just get both guys in the ring. But I think that's ultimately what will happen. You just call it, it's the 50th anniversary of Ali Frazier this year, right? Just call it the fight. And that's it. Now, before anyone goes nuts, I'm not comparing Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua to Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, right? I'm just borrowing the title, and that's it. Okay.
For number 3, my last bold prediction, I think we'll see Conor McGregor return to the boxing ring against, depending on the coronavirus, I think it'll be against Manny Pacquiao.
I can scarcely think of anything less attractive.
I think it'll be over in like Dubai or Saudi Arabia, somewhere like that. And, you know, they're both with the same agency. Kind of been spitballed and talked about a little bit. I don't know whether they're just waiting for the coronavirus to kind of hopefully finish and disappear so they can get fans there and generate some money.
It should be flushed down the toilet. That's what it should be. It should be flushed down the toilet. My final one is that Bridgerweight comes out and it's just a glorious hit and everybody absolutely loves it. And we wonder why we were ever criticising this new division ever. It's just going to be the best. It's going to end up being the flagship division of all time. And if you believe that, I'll keep telling you more.
And on that note, right, going swiftly moving to news and notes. So Michael Coppinger reports that Showtime is putting together a February card headlined by Adrian Broner. And I heard rumors it may be against Chris Van Heerden.
Oh, that's a shame because the fight I would actually have liked to have seen was Broner against Regis Prograis, not because I think it would necessarily be competitive, but I know that Regis Prograis has got interest. I spoke to Regis Prograis about this, walking out of the arena after Taylor had beaten Baranchik, walking to a casino, and he was telling me then that he wanted that fight, and that's obviously before he'd lost his unbeaten record. And I've seen some social media recently where Broner is back in the gym and he's going to be one of the best fighters ever, hard to hard. But yeah, fair enough. It's if he's back, you know, just follow the same pattern as it always does. He'll knock over a couple of fighters that he's favoured to beat, going against an elite player at either 140 or 147 and get his clock cleaned.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, I'd like to. I mean, Chris Van Heerden is an okay opponent. I know for the longest time they were talking about him fighting Ivan Redkach, which would be kind of an interesting fight. That'll be an all-out war. So, you know, we'll see. You know, obviously it's January now. February's next month, and there's been no announcement yet from Steven Espinoza. So, you know, we should be finding out soon.
The clock's ticking.
And obviously, with a massive spike in new cases and coronavirus strain, the UK has prompted a fresh turnaround of stay-at-home restrictions. And the British Board of Boxing have cancelled all events in January. Yeah,
that's Kelly and Avancian done again, which is a shame. I feel sorry for, well, everyone affected by it, and the sport is secondary when it comes to this. But just on a note like that card and all the undercard players, I think Anthony Fowler was due on that card as well. So all those guys are gutted, you know, training through Christmas and the fight's probably going to be delayed. Although I've seen that Eddie Hearn is confident that he'll get things set up for February. So fingers crossed.
What are the big fights that you're looking forward to, Tom, in 2021?
Well, definitely Estrada and Gonzalez too. I'm hoping that Inoue and Jean-Real Casimero gets done. I want to see the decision that Lomachenko makes in terms of does he stay? I mean, he's started calling out Lopez for a rematch at £135. I don't think that's going to happen, or if it does, I think it'll happen in Lopez's time. That's the downside of not having a rematch clause in the contract. Definitely Fury versus Joshua. There's a lot coming up. I think it's going to be an absolutely brilliant year. Fingers crossed that COVID starts to become more history than anything else, and that's had a knock-on effect on life. Never mind just boxing, but if it does, then there's a lot to look forward to in 2021. That's for sure.
Any news from across the pond on Josh Taylor and Ramirez been finalized?
No, I've touched base with Josh a couple of times, not really talking about what's happening specific. I think the last time I did ask about it, it was the same deal. There was no official date in place or venue or anything like that. But I think Josh really wants a full house. And if it's in the US, like America has been turning out like social distancing during fights and getting a few thousand people in to watch fights. We've seen it with Canelo and Smith. So in other fights, Gervonta and Leo Santa Cruz. So I think Josh is maybe saying, sometime in the summer or just coming into summer, April, May perhaps, but nothing concrete on it. Just that's one that they really need to get over the line. And thankfully, there's no excuse not to, because both guys have got the same promoter and same network, and they've got world titles, and everything should just add up, to getting that fight made.
Fingers crossed. It's probably one of the biggest fights that we've been kind of looking forward to for some time, and it kind of seems inevitable that it's going to happen.
It does. I like Josh in that fight. I always have. I think he's already proven that he's the best 140-pounder in the world, and I don't think that Ramirez can beat him. And that's nothing to do with the fact that he stays up the road or any of that. I just don't like the style for Ramirez, and he's not looked convincing against some of the top guys. Zepeda gave him hell. I thought Victor Postol edged him. I thought he was quite lucky to retain his title that night, whereas Josh has been tested. Postol gave Josh a good fight, but Josh beat Regis Prograis, and I think at that point, when he became World Boxing Super Series winner and Ring Magazine champion and knocked off a couple of belts, I think he proved himself. I think he proved it then. I think Ramirez will be icing on the cake for the undisputed tag.
Fingers crossed. I hope 2021 is better than 2020. But to be fair, I think we actually did get a good portion of big fights, considering what kind of happened with the coronavirus. At the start of the year, everything shut down, and it looked like we were going to get nothing. And then thanks to the UFC opening up, and Top Rank followed, and then swiftly Matchroom and Frank Warren. I think we did well.
Closed out the year. It began well with Fury and Wilder, went through turmoil, but we closed out the year with some really, really, really good fights. And Smith and Canelo was a big fight. Yes, it ended up being a bit more one-sided than I thought it was going to be, but it was still a huge event. Gervonta Davis and Santa Cruz was a huge event, turned over what we named as Ring Magazine Knockout of the Year. So, I thought it was a good end to the year. And given what the sport went through, it's as much as we could have hoped for. I thought out of all the promoters you mentioned, and this is not to say the other promoters didn't do well, but I was really, really impressed with how Top Rank went about business. They went through that period. I think it was June into July, and it was just show upon show upon show upon show. And the amount of work that went into that was phenomenal. And Eddie Hearn obviously did something similar at Matchroom headquarters, but Top Rank, I thought, really rose to the occasion, and I think they deserve a strong mention for that.
No, that's true. I thought they did really well. Obviously, just kind of making the MGM their home, and we got quite a variation. A lot of youngsters got some runs out. Some of the bigger fights, like the Josh Franco and people like that. Getting shots at a world title. So, onwards and upwards for 2021, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Tom, if you want to just tell everybody where they can find you on Twitter and Instagram and anything the Ring Magazine have going on.
Well, the only social media that I use is at Tom_Gray_boxing, and that's Twitter. But and in terms of what's coming up, Ali Fraser Special Edition is due out, which I'm really excited about. If you're going to make a special edition out of one fight on its 50th anniversary, and I think that this is the fight that it should be. I'm due to watch it again. We've got some brilliant writers doing some great stuff for that, and I can't build it up enough. It'll be special when that comes out, and some other great stuff coming up all through the year, hopefully. So I can't wait, mate. I can't wait.
And obviously you can find us at The Last Round 12 on Instagram and Twitter. And, thanks again, Tom, for joining us, and better luck next year, hopefully on the competition.
I'll get you back for that.
This is The Last Round.
Thanks for supporting and listening to the show. Follow us at The Last Round 12 on social media. Rate, review, and subscribe. This is The Last Round